It's tough this morning. It's July 2nd, the second day of camp. I have a dentist appointment, which I've been going to the dentist a lot this month, just trying to get them all out of the way before I have to have my wisdom teeth pulled. Looking forward to that. I don't know when that will be. Don't have the appointment scheduled because I'm a procrastinator. Yeah. So the dentist usually takes an hour and a half, and then later today I have my chiropractor appointment, which I usually have on Fridays, but I had to push to Monday. And then in between, I still have to get some blood work done for my rheumatologist, so I don't know if I'll get that done. So I don't know when I'll start writing, because time is timey-wimey, right? I feel much better today. I stopped taking one of my migraine meds. Did you hear I stopped taking one of my migraine meds and my head feels better? How does that work? Hi, you dork. What are you doing? What are you doing? Coming to see me? Coming to see me? Hi. You always come to see me. So yeah, I gotta go do that, and then I guess maybe I'll do the blood work in between the appointments, and at some point, because my outline's basically done. Done-ish? Did I finish it? It's done. It's done. It's good enough to start writing, I'm pretty sure. So I'll start writing. I think I might come home and spend a little bit of time on Pinterest, just to maybe see if I can get a feel for the characters. I kind of already have some images in my head, but sometimes stuff doesn't get fully fleshed out until I actually start writing the characters, you know? So we'll see how that goes for me. I don't have much else planned for today other than to start writing. Hi. I'm losing my voice. Did you steal my voice? Did you steal my voice? If only you could, so you could talk to us, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. I'll check back in with you guys later. Hey everybody. It's 5 o'clock and I'm now back from all of my stuff. I did have a brief period in the afternoon, so I came back and I started up Scrivener because yesterday all I did was install it. I didn't even open it up to see what it looked like. So I opened it up, I made a manuscript of sorts. I made 7 chapters because this novella, as far as my outline goes, should have 7 chapters. We'll see if, like, during the actual drafting process, because I draft longer than I think I usually do, so we'll see. It might end up being like doubled, or some chapters just split into 2 here or there, I guess, depending on, because, you know, when I wrote them I was like, this could kind of end up being longer than I'm thinking as I write it out. As I write out these 2 sentences to describe it, this could potentially be pages and pages and pages. So I'll figure this out as I go, but right now my plan, as I went along with like the beat sheet, is 7 chapters. And I was thinking if I did 2,000 words, that'd be 14,000 words. That's not really enough for a novella. I don't think that's really small, but I did kind of start like doing a sequel novella plan ish, because where I ended this first one, I was like, well, that is where I planned to end it, to not really introduce some of the other people that I was going to introduce. But I started tootling around with that and seeing where it could go, and that I had extended. So if I left this with 7 chapters and I started that immediately, I actually just kind of started it from like chapter 8 just to see where it would go if I continued directly into it. And it went about the way I planned, like another 7-ish chapters. I actually went to 15 chapters, and I think that's a little bit better for a novella. I mean, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, for like novella lengths, I still can barely think, but like 2 times 15 chapters is 30,000 words. So, but then see, to me, then I'm like, but then I'm getting close to novel length, and I didn't want this project to be a novel. I wanted it to be a shorter introduction. But then when I was kind of tootling around with the sequel novella-ish, and I introduced 2 of the characters that they're actually important for my main whip that I am still working on, that I do plan to work on during camp. So, okay, I do plan to work on during camp. And they are characters that get introduced into that series, but like later on though. So I'm not even sure why they're bugging me right now. But yeah, so I don't know. I left it off on chapter 15, and then I looked at it again this morning and I was like, that's how I left it off? Oh, okay, like, was I going somewhere with this, or was that just supposed to be like a cliffhanger, like road trip time, here we go, I'm not telling you what happens from here on out? I don't know. So that led me to be like, oh, well, do I need to do a 3rd part to actually like round this out? And do, that was not my intention. That was not my intention. So if I did a 3rd part and kind of rounded out this little story kind of that I'm doing in this novella, I'm introducing some concepts. Hi, Pooh Dog. I hear you. Hi. Hi. You're not even in frame. Hi. Where are you going? Here, you want to come here? Come here. Hi. Yeah, you're kind of in frame. Excuse the couch that I've taken over with some books that I just got. I actually just got them from the dollar store. Why? I don't know. You can't really leave me alone in any store because I go immediately to wherever the books are. And I find the books, and I find the books that sound interesting, and I buy the books. And normally I don't buy books, really. Like, you see me with like my monthly TBRs. They're library hauls. Like, I read from the library a lot until you get me to a place where the books are cheap, and then all bets are off. Like, So yes, I do have a couple stacks of books back there. My mom saw me carrying them, but then as I unloaded them onto the conveyor belt at the register, she was like, I didn't even know you had that many books. I was like, I've gotten good at like carrying them in the crook of my arm. Yes, I'm still petting you, dear. Don't worry. Don't worry. I scratched the butt. I scratched the dog butt. So yes, anyway, I'm working on this novella, and I have just this small story, and these concepts, this world building that is just, it's minimal in my current whip. It's stuff that gets introduced and the concepts get played around with, but that's not the focus of that first trilogy, quartet. I don't know how many books that first like storyline would have, you know, because the way I have this series is that there are these story arcs within the main story arc, right? So I'm like, there's this story arc, and then there's this story arc, and then there's this one, and then the last one. And so I was like, yeah, okay, I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to explore these concepts, which for me in this like magical universe that I'm writing has to do with gods, but not like our like mythology or religious gods, just my type of gods, which I've got a lot of world building behind it in my head, so it takes me a lot of work. Like if I showed you the notes one day, I should actually go through and like show you the amount of work I have put into the thought of my magic system and like the gods and the different types of creatures that are inhabiting this world, and the different types of gods that result from these creatures, and who are gods and where the gods reside, and the problems that come from that, that come into our world. That's what a lot of the series that I write deal with. Those are like the general main concepts. So this novella that I was working on, I thought would be a great way to introduce these like main concepts. It deals with like an entity that wants to be a god. It sees itself already as a god. It just needs to take the place of a god that is gone, you know? Like it needs to take some steps to actually make it to that point. So this storyline revolves around that kind of plot point. And when I was first trying to tie it together, I thought, I was like, oh well, I have these two other like traveling characters who are witches. They are traveling for their own reasons because their coven is kind of, their leader was like, I don't know, he had his own issues, so he fucked off to nowhere, so left his coven, so they're just wandering around helping people. So they kind of settled, and that's how they're going to be introduced here. But because they actually are still part of that larger coven, I was like, oh good, so I've inadvertently tied this little story into the bigger story that I didn't really want to. Like, I was trying to avoid that mess of having a bigger story. It's interesting though to me because it ties into something that is very interesting to me because of some stuff that happens that is actually directly correlated to that group of witches, their coven. Like, these characters, like they are directly related, so I can see why my brain made those connections. I was like, yes, brain, thank you. I realized this is a good connection to make, but I was trying to write a simple like novella that would just introduce some world building and nice characters. This is one of the biggest issues of my brain, like when I try to write, is I can't write short. Not even short stories, just I can't write short. So when I'm talking about my WIP being 185,000 words, somewhere around that, there, it's a monster, I know. It's the concept that these story ideas, I can't even contain them. Like, I cannot keep them tiny. When I want them to be tiny, they're like, no, let's connect them to this larger multiverse that's in your head. And I'm just like, that was not what I wanted. So like, the more I think about this novella, the more thoughts come into my head. The more things, the more stuff, magic stuff is popping up into my head. It's crazy. It's crazy up in here. Like, If anyone remembers, no, I don't remember anything. I don't remember anything. It's because I've got story stuff in my brain instead of actual knowledge. Okay, so anyway, yes, my brain's a mess. I am a mess. I understand this. There's no way to fix it yet that I have come across. I don't know. Okay, so Scrivener. I've opened it up. It started the document the way I think it needs to be started. I don't know. That it says manuscript, which I have now replaced with my working title. And then below that are chapters, which below the chapters would be scenes, but because this is a shorter work, there's not like a ton of separate scenes. Like, I'm considering most chapters are a scene or like 2 scenes, like if they have a change of environment, you know, like it's not as intensive as like my main whip, which is just, when I think about maybe trying to put it into Scrivener in like the next draft, whenever I actually finish these structural edits, I feel like maybe they would eventually help me, but I don't actually have chapters in that project. So right now I just have shifting point of views. They almost shift with scenes, but not quite. I don't know. Right now, this novella is the only thing I'm working on in Scrivener. When I have time, I will still be working on my regular whip, just the psychics one. This one I'm calling this just the soul mark whip. I don't know. How do you title things? I don't know. So I have one sentence in here. It looks very different than writing in Word, and I guess it's just because I'm so used to it that I'm like, it looks weird. So, we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna try to write, I have 20 words done. I wasn't really planning on tracking words, but I thought if I was going to, I'd be like, oh, 2,000 words a chapter might be okay. If it's more than that, that's totally fine. And then I figured if I had more time than that, I'd be working on my psychics whip outside of that, because I still want to be working on that. I don't want to just give up on that completely when there's still so much work to do. Hi, light. Light's going in on me. It is dark in here. I still have a migraine. It's just, I feel so much better today than like even yesterday. So don't go out on me again. But this camera's trying. This camera's really good. It takes a light where it takes a room where I have hardly any light, and it boosts it up. I was like, nice. Because I'm a person who sits in the dark a lot. But anyway, so I'm gonna work on this one and see how far I can get. I guess my plan kind of was that I have 7 chapters, and if I could do, I know I can't do a chapter a day. That's no, that's not gonna work. So I was thinking a chapter every 2 days, maybe 3. I don't have as bad a schedule this week and next week as I did like this last week, where I was like, I can't even prepare for camp because my week is just chock full of driving and doctor appointments and just constantly going. I was exhausted. So this is like the first couple days in a row I had to kind of rest and not have to do anything, but I still needed to try to prepare and get ready for camp. So that's kind of what I did. So 2 to 3 days for every chapter. I figure that will get me to finish this novella and still give me time to work on the psychics, the other psychics, not these psychics. Yeah. I don't know. I really wanted to finish some stuff up by the end of the month, but at this point it might just be this novella. And I mean, if I'm feeling really good about it, maybe I will work on like that other part of the outline that I kind of started working on last night. Maybe if I'm feeling good about it. I feel good about it. Like, I feel like these characters might be good for me to write, and the concepts, a lot of it is pulled from my own life, and I guess that's maybe why the novella might be easier for me to write, is that the characters, the environment, the supernatural things that happen are all pulled from my life experiences. So it's one of those I was like, I feel like this will be good, maybe almost cathartic in a way, but like in a way that I should be able to get it done. I don't know. I got to figure out a voice for the characters. This first sentence I wrote is in third person already, and it looks like present tense, looks like is what I'm writing, which I think I said is kind of what I'm drawn to writing. So it looks like this is one of those characters that likes to narrate that way. We'll see how it goes. It's one of those weird things, when I outline, I don't always have the actual scenes, so sometimes it is hard for me to get going and go, how am I starting this book? Where's the jumping off point? Do I start off immediately? Where am I who am I? So I don't know, but this is the fun part for me. This is where I have an outline-ish, and I have a general idea of where the story is going to go. And now I get to kind of draft and explore the characters in the world, and usually this is where my brain comes up with other characters as well to populate the world. And I just have to like make note of them later, because I'm like, why are you pulling this out of nowhere? But it's good. It's just stuff I don't remember later, so I do have to make note of it, like in my outline or somewhere, and just in a story note. So it's 1717. I am going to work on this for a little bit, see how far we get. I don't believe I'm going to work on the Psychics project. The other one, I'm gonna call that one the Psychics one. This one is the Soulmark novella. So I'm gonna try to get, I guess I want chapter 1 to be 2,000 words-ish. Is that a good amount for a chapter? Because I've never really cared how long a chapter is before. I've never honestly considered it. But when I was doing research about how long novellas are, and like how long like chapters and when things are supposed to happen, I was like, do you really do this so much planning for your books? Because I don't. So 2,000 words, that might be too short, so I guess it depends. But I'm a minimalist drafter when I first draft, so a lot of details and description get kind of left behind, and that kind of stuff is what I get to fill in on a second draft. So if I feel like it's too low, then I can usually beef up the word count, but I don't need to beef it up too much, because there is such a thing as too much Psychic's whip. You know I'm talking about you. So I'm gonna work on this, see how far I can get, and just type and see if I can get a head start on this. It's 5 o'clock at night. I'm gonna have to stop for dinner and to watch TV with my mom, I'm sure. And then tomorrow we're driving to go get our other car out of the shop. So like part of the day is driving and doing some errands and then coming back. So maybe the end of the day I'll be able to write. But usually if I can, I try to get like maybe some notes here or there written. It's just, we'll see. I am trying to take this camp easy. I think I've been saying that here or there. I'm not feeling like I'm taking it easy yet, but I really am. I set the word count goal for 14,000, and then I upped it to like 20 or 25,000, just to say like, because yeah, this might be 14,000, but I will also be working on the Psychic's whip, and that will also probably count for some word count, and that should be pretty doable. You know, I still really only had like 100, 200 pages to go in the Psychic's whip. It's just the outline where I was looking at it, I was like, I still have a lot to like maneuver though, where I'm piecing scenes together and moving them up, or just trying to wrangle it somehow. So that could account for some word count. Account for some word count. Yes. Okay. So I have 20 words down. Let me see how far I can get, at least in just this session. I don't know how far I'll be able to get because I have not taken my medication that I was supposed to take this morning. Dang it. So now I'm gonna go take my meds, and then I'm gonna sit down and typey type. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.